Good morning, friends. I'm Dave Barklow, pastor at Fort Walton Beach First United Methodist. Welcome to the Pastor's Study, our daily devotional to help us focus our mind on the things of God. We are continuing our walk through the Gospel of Mark, and here we come to a very famous story, a very famous miracle of Jesus, just because it's so amazing. So I'm going to be reading from Mark chapter 6, verses 45 through 52. Immediately, Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go ahead to the other side, to Bethsaida, while he dismissed the crowd. After saying farewell to them, he went up on the mountain to pray. When evening came, the boat was out on the sea, and he alone was on land. And when he saw that they were straining at the oars against an adverse wind, he came towards them early in the morning, walking on the sea. He intended to pass them by, but they saw him walking on the sea, for they thought it a ghost, and cried out. For they all saw him and were terrified. But immediately he spoke to them and said, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." Then he got into the boat with them, and the wind ceased, and they were utterly astounded, for they did not understand about the loaves, but their hearts were hardened. So here we have two miracle stories together. If you remember, last week we ended with Jesus feeding the 5,000 from 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. But still, according to Mark, they still didn't quite understand who Jesus was. And we had this other miracle where Jesus comes walking to them on the water. And I think there's a few key things in here. First is Jesus does this big miracle, and then he goes off to pray, to be alone with the Father. And after he spent time with the Father in prayer, he's then able to go and do this other miracle, to walk across the water. Now, of course, Jesus can do these miracles, but yet this pattern of public ministry and private devotion, of needing to give his energy, to give his teaching, to do these miracles, and then to go and to recharge just seems important. We've talked about that already in Mark. It's a pattern in the Gospel of Mark. But we also see the disciples, and they are struggling and with their understanding and physically against this wind. And it seems like Jesus wants to help them. He wants to help them physically by walking on the water and getting to them, and the wind stops when he gets to the boat. But he also wants to help them intellectually and spiritually. He wants them to understand who he is. So if we go all the way back to the very beginning of the Bible, if you remember, in the very opening verses of the Bible, we are told that the Spirit of God hovered over the waters of the deep, over the chaos of the deep. And that Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God, hovered over that. And here we have Jesus literally walking on the water. He is God hovering over the water, who even the water must obey. This miracle, though it seems like sometimes Jesus is not real upfront in the Gospel of Mark about who he is, this miracle proclaims loud and clear who Jesus is, that he is God, and that they need to understand that and get on board with it. But yet it says they're astounded, for they did not understand the loaves. They're still trying to get it. Friends, I'd love to say I get it. I'd love to say I've got it all figured out and that I live that way all the time, but I don't. But I want to today. So friends, today, let's live knowing that Jesus is Lord. Let's live knowing that he can meet us in the middle of our storms, and that he can even calm the craziness of the world. Remember, friends, I love you. Take care of yourselves and shine the light of Christ.